Every PhD student wants to impress their supervisor. Now, as high achievers, as people who have done really well in undergraduate and maybe even in your high school years, it is only natural that you would want to impress your PhD supervisor to the point where they're like, this person is amazing. But, take that with a grain of salt. I think trying to impress a PhD supervisor can end up getting you in hot water, especially if you are trying to emulate their behavior. And sometimes that behavior isn't always ethical or right. So I think just sticking to the basics initially, making sure you're well read, making sure that you do your work, that you turn up on time, that you are present in the lab, that you turn up to group meetings prepared, and all of those sort of things just go a little way to really impressing a good PhD supervisor. Now, that said, you can impress a PhD supervisor even before you've set a foot in their lab. And I have heard plenty of PhD supervisors fight over very diligent undergraduates. Now, if you are an undergraduate and you always approach the lecturer and you try your best, you get good grades, you have already gone a long way to set in the first good impressions for that PhD supervisor to want to accept you into their lab. Now, I know plenty of supervisors who sort of like scope out in their undergraduate labs and the undergraduate lectures which PhD students they want to take on based from that cohort. There are plenty of ways to impress a PhD supervisor, and in this video I'm going to share with you what impressed me, how I feel like I impressed some of my supervisors, PhD, postdoc or otherwise, and what other people, other PhD supervisors have told me about their students. This video is brought to you by my newsletter. Go check it out at andrewstapleton.com.au/newsletter. I'll put a link in the description. When you sign up, you'll get 5 exclusive emails over about 2 weeks. Everything from the tools that I recommend and use, the podcasts I've been on and really enjoyed, and a lot more. So sign up and you'll get those straight into your email inbox. Also, new glasses. I know, it'll take a while to adjust. Don't worry. Just a couple of videos. Give me that. One of the biggest ways you can impress your PhD supervisor is by knowing all of the research so that you can kind of refer to it sort of in meetings. Now, I'm not saying you need to have like a library of papers up in your mind to be able to draw on at any moment, but after you've done enough reading, you start to be able to talk about what's happening in the current research landscape so that you can help evolve ideas in research meetings. Now, this is something that I came across was quite powerful, is that, read a lot, read regularly, make sure that you set up alerts on Google Scholar for different papers, use tools like Litmaps, Connected Papers, Research Rabbit to actually find these papers that are newly emerging, that maybe are in the preprint phase, maybe haven't even been properly peer reviewed yet, but are in the kind of early stages and have been released on non-peer reviewed sites. And understanding the research field gives you an opportunity to contribute to ideas as they're being talked about. Now, I was in a meeting and my supervisors, because I had 5 at the time, believe it or not, that's insane. I had to do a lot of chairing in those meetings, but I had 5 supervisors and they would come up with ideas and I go, well, this research group tried that and they found this, this, and this. So I feel like maybe that's not a good opportunity at the moment. And one of them actually turned to me and was like, well, I'm not used to this, an actual PhD student that's read up on their work. And I was like, okay, well, this obviously is something a little bit unusual, but I think maybe it's a little bit of cockiness on my part to be able to be like, oh, no, that's a bad idea. But to have the backup of the research because I'd read it and they haven't, that I think is a one way to impress. And I'm not saying go out and be like combative all the time with their ideas, but having a knowledge of the research sort of ready to pull on and out of your mind at any moment can really help impress PhD supervisors and postdoc supervisors. And yeah, it's certainly something that I found works a treat. The second thing that I think really impresses PhD supervisors is a knowledge of the game, the academic game, papers, peer review, getting grants, applying for grants, all of that stuff. Like, having a PhD student who understands what the game is, what they're really playing, and helping you work towards it, I think will impress them, no doubt. So, always having an idea of a paper that you may want to write and getting them involved in the early days. Understanding that you're working with them to boost both your careers, but sometimes mainly their career, and saying, what's the most impactful place we can send this research? What's the most impactful conferences? And really understanding that academia and working with your supervisor, I think, can really impress them. It's about publishing, it's about bringing in money, it's about applying for grants. Even as a PhD student, there are some grants even within your university, even within like your local government area, like when I got my first grant, that really can help sort of them understand that what's going on, and you are working with them to benefit their career and your career. And, that's just part of the game. So go check out my other video where I talk about this in more detail. But really, the secrets of the academic world, if you can learn them earlier by watching my videos or, just speaking to current postdocs and being like, what is this supervisor? What do they really want? What are they doing at the moment? Are they trying to sort of like get more grants? Are they trying to publish more? Like, what is it that they want that I can help sort of push towards? And I think that can really impress them. Yes. The third thing that I think can really impress a PhD supervisor is top-notch communication. Now, I have seen so many awesome scientists fail at the communication phase. Now, I really feel like I only did as well as I did because I was able to stand up in front of a crowd and talk about my research results confidently. Sometimes I put on a bit of an act. I bumped up the parts of my personality that allowed me to speak clearly and confidently to 200 people, and that is absolutely scary, especially when you're presenting your own original research and like, oh my god, they're going to find out all the issues with this immediately. But generally they don't. Like, if you're a confident speaker, I really feel like that can go a massive way to impressing a PhD supervisor, whether or not it's in one-on-one meetings, whether or not it's in departmental presentations, whether or not you're speaking at a symposium or a conference. Like, those things really help impress not only your PhD supervisor, but any potential collaborators and stuff in the future. So getting up, making sure that you're familiar with talking in public. There's Toastmasters, which I know a load of academics do because it forces you to stand up and speak to people, which is so uncomfortable on so many levels. But once you kind of have done it a few times, you kind of get used to it. One of the worst things that I ever did, and best things probably, was stand-up comedy. I tried doing it and the first 3 went amazingly, and I was like, oh my god, this is my new career. I'm a stand-up comic. And then the last 3 went so bad that it was the only time in my life where I wanted the world to sort of like swallow me up. But doing some sort of stand-up, improv stuff, some Toastmaster training can really go a long way in improving your communication skills, making you seem and appear more confident than you feel on the inside. And it goes a long way to, impressing academics in general. So top-notch communication skills, being able to speak to a crowd, being able to speak one-on-one will really impress your supervisor. Good skill to invest in. As a supervisor, one thing that I always really admired was determination and focus, particularly when things were not going well. Now, I liked my students. I supervised an honors and a master's student during my postdocs, and one thing I really sort of admired and respected is if they came in with a problem, a potential solution, and just persevered through some of the tough times. Like, that was when I was like, okay, yeah, these guys are made to be sort of researchers, and they've developed the right skills and persistence and determination, because even though things aren't quite going well for them at the moment, they are persevering, they are looking at new avenues, they're trying their best to overcome challenges that inevitably come up during research. And I was like, this is a good thing for these guys to be doing. Determination is really tough, and a certain positivity. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be like always positive and always kind of like trying to convince yourself things are going well. But a certain positivity and chirpiness, really, even if it's a little bit fake, certainly goes a long way to being like, it's okay, it's a problem, we got this. Like being energized, I guess, by problems and challenges is one thing that really impressed me, because I know we all get a little bit down when things aren't going right. But when you sit in a room with someone who's like, no, it's all right, we got this, we can do this, I'm going to try this. You're like, oh yeah, okay, the world is bright. So having opportunities to overcome challenges and sort of persevering through them, that is one way that you can impress me if I'm your PhD supervisor. So there are all of the things you can do to impress your PhD supervisor. If in doubt, remember to keep it simple. Remember to read. Remember to communicate well. Remember to get in the lab or sit down in your sort of like research area and do work. Always work little bit towards your goals, and seeing a PhD student sort of progressing always fills me with happiness, and communication goes a really long way. So let me know in the comments what you would add to that, and also go check out academiainsider.com. That's my project where I have my ebook, The Ultimate Academic Writing Toolkit, as well as links to my Insider forum and more. So go check it out. And also, all right, see, the glasses aren't so bad now, are they? Give me one more video and you won't even notice them. I'll see you in that video.